everybody, this is David Gray, also known as RTI Installer on Remote Central. I'd like to show you today a T3V remote that I've recently programmed for a customer. This remote concept I've reformulated over the last couple years. The biggest complaint I've had with programming RTI remotes, especially the large screen ones where you have few tactile buttons to work with, here's the actual remote right here, is that they're too many pages deep. It's too complicated for customers to continuously wade through page after page after page to get to where they want to be. So my concept here, my idea was to build a remote that was only one button click away from anything else, irregardless of how many zones you were dealing with. So what I've got here, this is my home page in Integration Designer, and it's emulated here again. You know, this is what we're looking at on the actual remote that's actually active right now. But I'll show you on here because this is much larger and simpler for you to see. On the left side, to make this very plain and clear, I've created some buttons. Obviously this is Comcast, and I have Comcast Music, Bluray player, Apple TV, iTunes, HD radio, and there's some little green arrows along the side which I will explain later. At the top we have where it says power is on. This is a real-time feedback element, as is just about everything else on this remote. The Denon AVR3312, which this is tied into, is going to give me feedback via the driver and the XP6 processor, give me real-time feedback as to the state of the various aspects of this entire system. So for instance, when the power is off in the main zone, this will actually say power is off. On the right side here, you'll see that there's a mute element here that I've overlaid on top of a bar graph, which gives me relative volume feedback, and then also alphanumeric volume feedback. I'm going to put this, actually I don't want to move that, undo. It's kind of hard to look at the camera and then look at your screen simultaneously. This mute emblem here that you're looking at will pop up when the mute button is actually pressed on the remote here, and then will disappear again when the button is pushed again. This snooze timer takes me to a page. Let me show you that really quick here. Sleep timer. It looks like this. I could go into a little more detail on this later, but it's pretty obvious what this is for. It's, you know, if your customers fall asleep, you know, give them an option here to be able to press one button, and within 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending on what they choose, the whole system just turns off all by itself. The little window below here is a feedback window that tells me what state the surround is in. If it's a Dolby Digital or an analog signal, or if it's 5-channel stereo, that will pop up in this little window here so the customer knows what state they're in. This is a visual weather element that will change based on the actual weather within the zip code area of this customer. This could be all clouds, it could be all sunny, it could be a number of different elements. This little graphic will change to represent that. Below that, obviously, this chance of showers will change to give the actual state of the weather, along with the temperature, relative temperature, indoor and outdoor. Down below, this is the whole beauty of this whole thing right here, is the little toolbar that I've created. Now the toolbar is the thing that RTI came up with here recently, the last couple of years with the T3V series of remote controls. And you can see this over here represented by these 4 or 5 little buttons over here on the side, which I can tie into these 3 little elements here that I put here. What I've done here is I have patio, which is an outdoor zone, a go back, which is a standard go back button you have on every web page these days and what everybody seems to understand. And then this is clean screen, but on other pages it'll say home. Over here we have bed, bath, and dining room areas, and then we have an all speakers area. Now I'm going to switch the remote to show you how this actually works. So here's the remote. You can see here on the page where I was just talking about, it says power is on, the volume is at 70, and I currently have it muted. I'm going to push the mute button. Now you see that this mute feature appears and disappears depending on the actual state of the receiver. There's our volume. I'm going to go up with the volume. You got Comcast playing currently right now. You can see how the bar graph moves and how the alphanumeric moves with it. You see that the Comcast is putting out Dolby Digital, so we get Dolby Digital. The current weather, see where it's giving me a little overcast out there with some sun peeking through, which is what's going on today. It's cloudy, outdoor 51, and the interior temperature is 72 degrees. Now, if you look over here on the left side, you'll see those some of those little arrows I was talking about. I'm currently watching Comcast, but if I was to come up here and push Bluray, and then go back to the home page, look what happens. The arrow is now telling me exactly what source is selected on the Denon 3312 for the main home theater area. And this is true of anything. If I pushed HD radio and I went back, it switches to HD radio. I know exactly what I'm on. I'll put the mute on here for the time being. Now, that said, this is pretty obvious. You're just selecting what source you want to have displayed or what you want to listen to in the main theater zone. But let's say that up in the bedroom, Mom wants to go up there and she wants to do some work in the bedroom or just sit back and read a book in her chair up there, and she wants some music. So if I go to push the bed bath button, it pops up this page. Now she's very visual, so I put visual elements in here. We have a bed, we have a sink, we have a dining room symbol in here. So when she picks this up and she looks, she goes, oh, this is for these zones. I know exactly what this is for. And it's, for Dad there, who's more of a text kind of guy, it actually says what it is. Now it says here, speakers are on in these areas. This is a true statement. This is what the Denon receiver is telling the remote via the Zigbee antenna through the XP6 processor. If I push the off button, it actually turns off, and it actually tells me, hey, I'm off, and it gives feedback to the remote, and it's displayed here. Turning it on again, feedback comes on, it says it's on. Now look at this. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go to the bottom of the remote, and look where it says bed and bath. The little icon, it actually says it's off in that zone. But if I come up here and I turn it on, look at that. It tells me the current source that is playing in that zone. Now, this is true of any source. If I pushed, for example, if I went and pushed Comcast Music, look down here. Watch what happens. It changes to cable music. So no matter what page you're on, this toolbar is consistent. It always stays the same. The feedback is always consistently the same. So they always know what is playing in what room and what state it's in. Is it on? Is it off? Is it muted? And speaking of mute, look at this. How do I mute that zone? Let's say that I don't want to turn it off. I just want to mute it real quick. Watch this. I just push the icon. Boom. It's muted. It says muted right above it right there. I push it again, and it unmutes that quick. I can either do the go back button, or I can use the direct link buttons here on the remote that take me instantly to any of those zones. Once again, the idea of this remote was, look, I'm home, I'm on the home page, I want to go to that zone, I'm there. I don't have to wade through page after page after page to get to where I want to be, to do anything I want to do in this home. Same is true over here with the patio. Now look at the symmetry of this particular page. This is the bed, bath, and dining area. But if I go out to the patio, say Dad's out cooking some salmon on the barbecue out there, I push this button. Look, it's nearly identical. It has the same exact flow to it. It doesn't jump to some other crazy idea. It's the same thing. But what has changed is the visual elements at the top. We have a flower. We have the barbecue. It's very simple to tie these two together in your mind and say, hey, that's the patio. That's outside. It all functions the same. If I turn it off, it says patio speakers are off. You look down at the bottom. What does it say? It says it's off. If I turn it on, it's on. If I go to the bottom, look, iTunes is currently playing there. If I just push HD radio for the patio, what's going to happen? It's going to update. It says HD radio. So I have HD radio playing the patio. Mom's listening to the cable music upstairs, and the kids are in here in the living room watching the Blu-ray player. All independent, all simultaneously, without anybody stepping on anybody else's activities. Very simple. Now you see where it says clean screen? I push that button, look, we get the piggy. Piggy means that this screen has become completely inactive. I can now wipe this off with a microfiber cloth and get it all nice and sparkly and clean again without having fear of pushing any buttons inadvertently that I don't want to press that, turn things on and off or change modes. Pushing it again takes me back to the home screen. If I was to go, for example, to the Blu-ray page, and you look down at the tool, well, actually, this is the wrong page to be on, but if I go to the HD radio page, and I look down at the bottom here, you see where there's now a home symbol there. Every page except the home page has a home page symbol on it that always takes me home. Go to this page, home button. I go to this page, home button. Everything is consistent. No matter where you go, you can get to this toolbar and you can easily get back to anything you want to within one button press. Now let's say that I want to have to jump all over this remote to do everything simultaneously. So I'm going to push the all speakers button. Now look at this, look at the top. The visual elements have changed. This tells me that every single one of these areas will be affected by whatever I do. And I get a visual readout here as well. It says patio on, bed, bath, dining room, living room. Everything is displayed here. If those areas are turned off, they will not be displayed there. Now look at here at the bottom. These are still independent right now, but if I push iTunes on this, and I go back here, let's go to the old page, all speakers page. What am I doing here? I'm going to go. You'll notice here that if I go to on the all speakers page, that both these changed. If I come here and I go, I'm going to push something that's not going to jump around too much. Let's see, we're already on iTunes. If I go to HD radio, look at the bottom. Watch them both change. They got boom, boom. They both updated. Look at that. It all stays relative. The system always knows what state the receiver is in, and it will always display it here on this remote so that you can always get to what you want to get to. All speakers again. I can push iPod. I'll look at the bottom. Watch what happens. iPod, boom. Wait for this one to catch up. iPod, boom. Takes it a few seconds to refresh because the processor in the 3312 Denon is not incredibly fast, so it takes a little bit of time to send out the reply. It has to go through the processor, through the driver, and then go through the Zigbee antenna to the remote itself. But this is a super slick system. I'm very happy with this design. The customers are just ecstatic with this. Sleep timer, once again, and you can see it's currently deactivated, but say if I'm going to go to bed in 30 minutes and I think I'm going to fall asleep, if I push the clock, look at that, I just armed that clock. The little disarmed phrase went away, and in 30 minutes this system will shut down all the gear in the theater. It will go off without fail. If I push the deactivation button, I've just cleared that clock. Now it's not going to do anything. Pushing any button up here will deactivate the prior time and then go in favor of the new time. So if I go to 2 hours, I'm now at 2 hours. If I go to 3 hours, it deactivates the 2-hour command and defaults to the 3-hour command automatically. Now something I can't show you here, which I wanted to show you, is iTunes. I am streaming iTunes directly from her MacBook to an Airport Express or the Apple TV, as the case may be. And I don't have it here, so I can't demonstrate it for you. But what would be happening right now is if I had selected that, iTunes would be playing in the main zone, and you would be seeing the song name and title and artist and everything, and this little countdown counter would be working. And if I had cover art, you'd see the cover art over here on the side. If I went to page 2 here, which I can't see because the camera's in the way of my thumb, there it is, and I went to playlist, for example, it would give me a display of all the playlists as they're listed in her actual iTunes on her MacBook would show up here, and then I would get a little list of songs over on the right here just to let me know that I'm actually in the right folder. And I can select any one of those songs. If I went to browse a playlist, once again my big thumb, and I got to move the camera, this would be populated with songs right now, and I could scroll through them, select those songs, go back and select a playlist, and she could just play all of her tunes. And I have two ways I can go back. I can push the go back button, or I can, or right here, or I can just push the go back button here, and this toggles just like on a web page back through all the pages. This works super slick. She couldn't be happier. I've got it set up with the so that her main router is using the same password and SSID as her Airport Express. So no matter where she goes in the house, when the range starts to fade away on the router, for example, then the computer will automatically snap over to the Airport Express using the same SSID, the same password, and iTunes will continue as if nothing had happened. It's almost seamless. And so wherever she walks in the house, she can just fire this up, turn it on, start playing streaming songs right off of her MacBook, as if nothing. It's very, very simple. She just, I'm just amazed myself at how easy this was to put together and how well it works. But it's a super, super slick deal. I did it with an IP address for this case, but I could have also done a name server on her MacBook so that when she goes from place to place, if say she goes to Starbucks and she wants to log in DHCP with her MacBook, she doesn't have to worry about changing from a static to a DHCP state. So what I did is I reserved IP address in the actual router as itself with the IP that the Mac itself